driving to my Vistage presentation. That's what the weather looks like. Just like that. Total shit. I haven't seen the sun in Maryland in a year. Hey everyone, it's the week of January 7th, 2019. I'm Ben Landers, President and CEO of Blue Corona. Let me give you a quick rundown of what I have going on in the coming, over the next 7 days. We will get our P&L for December 2018, probably by tomorrow, Tuesday. We typically get it somewhere between like the 7th and the 10th each month from our controller. And once we have that P&L, I'll go ahead and put together with my Director of Finance a bunch of additional reports so that we can analyze and assess how the business is doing, any adjustments that we need to make. We produce a company performance report on a monthly basis, and then typically we'll do a quarterly company presentation. Given that we just wrapped up December and the year 2018, instead of doing a quarterly company performance presentation, I'll just put together a report that keeps everything nice and neat on our intranet. Q1's report, Q2, Q3, Q4. But instead of doing the quarterly company performance presentation, I'll do a 2018 presentation, what we set out to do, how we actually did, and then what we're planning to do in 2019, some of the key initiatives that we have, and things that are going to be important for us to be successful. So that's a big part of what I'm doing this week and the next couple weeks. On Wednesday afternoon, I'm going to drive up to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which is about 2 hours from my office, and I'll spend the night up there and then present to a Vistage group on Thursday morning. I do a Vistage workshop. I'm in the Vistage Speakers Bureau, and so I'll present to a group up there and then race back to the Maryland office. It's about a 2-hour drive. Come back, and it is back-to-back meetings and interviews on Thursday afternoon and then all day on Friday. So anyway, a lot going on this week, and I'll check in throughout, and welcome to another one of the world's most boring weekly work vlogs. Challenges that we have is we're running out of space in the office, so our parking lot gets full and there's nowhere to park, so we park out on the street in front of the building, public parking. The problem is that there are RVs, tractor trailers, work trucks, auto transport vehicles that park illegally overnight out in front of our building. You can't park on the street from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. So they park illegally, and then when our employees arrive at somewhere between 5:30 and 9 a.m., there are no parking spots left out on the street. And so we had been calling and reporting it to Montgomery County, the non-emergency police line, and nothing was really happening until Lynn Benzian from the Montgomery County Economic Development Group reached out to me and wanted to talk about how she could help us grow the business and what issues we were facing. And after we went through the sort of the business side issues, I told her one of the biggest issues that we have is these trucks parked illegally on the street, and it makes crossing the road when you get out of your car dangerous. It's a somewhat busy street in the morning, and asked her if she could help. We had been reporting it, nothing's been happening. And she reached out to a woman named Judith Stevenson, and Judith snapped her fingers, and there was an officer out here yesterday ticketing legally parked trucks. So again, the lesson learned is it's good to know powerful people, and it's important to be big enough as a business that you matter enough to get them to make things happen. really look at the camera right now, I'm driving on country roads on the border. I'm at the border of Maryland and Pennsylvania. Really pretty country roads. I'm driving to my Vistage presentation tomorrow. Just got into Lancaster. This is my room at the Eden Rock. Not a whole lot to it. See what we got going on out here. Oh, this is kind of cheeky. Indoor pool. Not a bad place. Should be fun. So I got to Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I'm just sitting here in my hotel catching up on email and all that kind of stuff. In the car drive up, it got a little, I was on country road, so it got a little bit crazy. I had to put the camera down. But on the car ride up, I was explaining that I left the Blue Corona, Maryland office today, drove up to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which is about 2 hours and 15 minutes away from the office. So I left mid-afternoon, drove up, and I'm up here for to give a presentation, a workshop really, to a Vistage group. Vistage is a peer-to-peer advisory board. So basically, when you're running a small privately held company, you typically don't have a board of directors. And the classic advice to CEOs and to business owners is that you're not supposed to, you're not supposed to talk to your staff about your concerns and your worries and sort of your deepest fears about the business. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I think you build a much better company when you actually share some of the concerns that you have and things that you're working through with respect to strategy and growing the business and the challenges, and get the whole team, involved in trying to solve those problems. I think it creates a much better culture of engagement, all that kind of stuff. But the traditional advice is you shouldn't share that stuff with your staff. And so organizations like Vistage exist to get CEOs from non-competing companies in a room once a month with a chair who is the facilitator. And they get together and they talk through problems and issues that they're facing, strategic opportunities, growth initiatives, and really everyone in the group gets to benefit from everyone else's, from the wisdom of the group. Some of the key points that I try to make in these Vistage workshops, first and foremost is the power of competitive analysis. I find that so many people operate with, as they get bigger, they look inward. As a company grows, the problems and the challenges, there are more of them, so the problems and the challenges grow with the business. The problems and the challenges become more difficult, and so you end up spending a lot of time, I think, looking inward and having a lot of internal dialogue with your team and different stakeholders internally. And so you spend less time looking outward, either outward towards your customers or outward towards your competitors. And I think that's the first point, is that there's tremendous power in continually scanning the landscape, talking to your customers and looking at what your competitors are doing, and also looking at ancillary markets, not just the people that you consider to be direct competitors, but potential disruptors or just other industries that maybe are more sophisticated that you might learn something from. Another key point that I try to get across in my Vistage presentations is the idea that the two most popular competitive analysis frameworks for business are more than 50 years old, and they are enormously valuable on the one hand. On the other hand, they have serious drawbacks, and one of those drawbacks, especially for small privately held companies, is the subjectivity that goes into the analysis. You contrast that with digital competitive analysis, where everything or so much can be measured and quantified. If you see that your website is the slowest slowest to load out of a competitive landscape, and you know as a consumer that a site that loads quickly is very important. If your site's not loading, a consumer can just click back and go to the next site. So you know it's important. If your site is the slowest to load, you have an actionable thing. You can go to your web company, go to your marketing department and say, we need to make our website the fastest loading site in our industry. That has to be part of our strategy. So it's digital competitive analysis is very actionable, and that's a key point that I try to make in my presentations. Friday, December 11th. I'm back from my Vistage trip to Lancaster, Pennsylvania. It was great, went off without a hitch. I want to thank Ted Wolf, who's the chair up there, for hosting me, and to his group for their hospitality. Everything went great, and I hope to hear from some of the members to see if we can help them out. I'm back in the office, and today I got a meeting with the bank this morning, and then meetings pretty much throughout the rest of the day. So when I woke up this morning, I was flipping through my phone and I saw a post on LinkedIn. It was an article from The Guardian, and it was talking about how, we've got to end this cycle of endless work and, like nonstop work. I didn't even actually click on or read the article. I was just in passing. I will read it when I go into the office, just briefly. But at a surface level, I just think it's so funny, these articles. I'm driving to work on Saturday morning by choice. I want to go into the office. I really do. My kids spent the night at my parents' house. My wife is tooling around the house, probably wants to clean stuff up or, get things organized, which is fine. That's not my thing. And so I'm headed in. I've got like 3 tasks that I need to do, some follow-up stuff that I just didn't feel like doing late yesterday on a Friday evening, so I'm going in the office today, and I'll probably do some other catch-up stuff, like look at our 2019 roadmap, and and just make sure we're I think that we're on track. Make sure that we're on track. So this idea that someone has to govern the amount of work, or that people feel like it's just it's never ending. My overarching suggestion is to find a career, find a job that where you're really into it, to the point where even if the work is relentless and never ending, that it's engaging and gives you a sense of achievement. Not saying it's going to be easy all the time, but something that leaves you feeling like you accomplished something. And the only other thing that I'll say is I've never had a job where every single aspect of the job was fun, where there was nothing that I didn't loathe. But what I would say is, if you're really into the big picture, the big picture of where your company's going, your career, your development as a professional, the big picture can get you past. Sorry guys, I'm in autopilot and I started to drive the wrong way to work. And if the workload were relentless, you had a bigger workload than you could manage, that trying to tackle it and trying to break it into bite-sized pieces and trying to garner the resources to hire a team to help you. You know, where that's engaging enough that you almost start to, you know, the work is like, again, it's like a game or a sport or a hobby. You love doing it. So that's, if you can find a job like that, I just think you'd never share an article about, you know, this expectation of relentless work. Got a late start this morning. I slept until 8 o'clock. Last night was trivia night at Manor Country Club, which is a neighborhood country club right across the street from the neighborhood where I live. And my wife and I went with a bunch of other couples to come in a mediocre 12th place out of 25 teams or something. But it was fun. It was a great night, but we were out very late. The trivia didn't even start until 8 o'clock. I normally go to bed on a normal night. I normally go to bed somewhere between 9:30 and 10. If you don't like the weather in Maryland, you just wait a few minutes and it'll change.